Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. I'm just stopping here at the Home Depot to grab a few parts, but I put together a couple of exterior foundation waterproofing videos with some test questions and answers at the end of the video. So you're welcome to jump to the end and just take the little test, but if you watch the video for that DIY, this will really help you understand what is needed to correctly waterproof a foundation, whether it be a basement, a crawl space, or a slab foundation. You know, we have 100% success rate with what we do, and so many questions. So I tried to put some of those questions up there at the end, and you'll be able to answer these questions. If you do it yourself, you're going to feel really good about doing it and knowing that you're going to get the problem solved. Again, Raleigh, Charlotte, this is in the clay. We've got Ed in Raleigh. Ed is capable of doing all of these foundations. Very, very competent and 100% success rate, just like me. You know, with all of the tool rental places available and all the equipment that's available today, for the DIY, these jobs are getting easier and easier. Watch the videos, learn. I promise you that once you watch a couple of these videos, you will have the skills to waterproof that foundation and get it done right. And don't forget to take the little test at the end of the video, and in the comment box, tell me how you did. So you can see I'm out here by the street, and the entire front yard slopes down towards that front wall there at the A-frame of glass. And they've got this driveway as well. Water pours off of this driveway. They actually have a sunken living room, so you can imagine how much water hits this wall and how important the wall is to be, dry and keep that water out. They've got hardwood floors that are buckling. So what we need to do is trench along this front wall. You can see we started pulling back the mulch. A lot of obstacles in the way. But we're going to dig down to the footer and clean that all off, seal that, put in our French drain, we call it a footer pipe, all along this front wall. It'll come over here and go to a sump basin. Sump pump lifts it up, and we're going to send it over here to the side of the house. So rather in-depth job, something a homeowner could easily do themselves. It is not a difficult job, it's just a lot of obstacles in the way. So let's go ahead and get started and see what we can find down here. So right away, as soon as we start excavating, what we find is a French drain buried about a foot deep along this front wall. And you know what? That caused most of their problem. When you put a French drain right beside a wall and you're not down at the footer level, I promise you that you will have major leaks throughout that wall all the way down to the footer. And you can see we're just trying to scrape that off, get down to the footer, just pulling away some of that gravel, and we've got to seal that wall. Remember, that floor is 18 inches below that grade. That's where the floor is. The footer goes way down there. Even though this is a slab home, they have a sunken living room, and we must seal that wall. While grading is important, it's more important that you seal that wall. And if you don't seal that wall and you backfill against it, you're going to have problems. Can you see all that gravel laying down there? It's very hard to dig through the gravel. So we had to remove that entire French drain and the pipe just to be able to excavate. We're still going to go down about 2 more feet to get down to that footer. Then we'll come around the side of the house here and discharge to a sump basin over here in the corner. You can see all of the things here. Like I said, it's not a hard job, but there's a lot of obstacles. We see water lines. This is a copper water line. You saw all the electric lines just laying on top of the ground. But these are normal things that we find, almost every job. You just have to take your time and dig down through there. You can see a piece of that exposed French drain. Like I said, do not put a French drain alongside your house unless you are at the footer level. It will cause problems. So you can see how shallow that old French drain was. It's just barely under the soil. I'm just going to pull it out of here because it doesn't do anything. If you're going to put a French drain alongside your house, try to be at least 2 or 3 feet away from that foundation wall. It's very important. What happens is that it does collect water, but it also loses water down underneath. So as it rains hard, water tries to get picked up through there, but a lot of water continues to go down, and it's very easy for that water to cut down through there now. So sometimes when you are digging out your footer, you can see I thought the footer was here, but we actually did a little bit more exploring because I want to make sure, and sure enough, that's the top of the footer right there. And so it's a little deeper. It's about 6 or 8 inches deeper than, you can see we're going to step up, than what we thought. What that means is the trench has to go deeper, but also, let me get over here, I'm standing in the trench. The sump basin has to go deeper. Okay, so we've got our sump pump installed. Remember, this is a Zoller M98 half horsepower pump. This thing will push about 60 to 80 gallons a minute, a couple trash cans full of water every minute. From the pump, starts with that male threaded 1.5-inch adapter, has a small riser. Remember, we drilled a pressure relief hole in it. You can see it down there. Pressure relief hole. We also have a check valve with arrows pointing upwards. Comes up. We stay underground, so we drill through the side of the pit. So let me do that, and then we plumb 1.5-inch pipe, and Joe's putting the couplings together where we're going to discharge. So remember, it's important that you keep your lid above ground or at grade, because you don't want to dig this up. If you remember a video just a few days ago, we're going back to that house to fix all that. The landscapers did a really nice job of installing. Unfortunately, they buried this wire. This powers the pump. This is not rated, UL listed, it's not rated to be underground. And this does get warm, especially if you don't use a cast iron pump. Everything gets hot. So that pump burned out, and we had to dig up that yard to get it into it. Pumps need maintenance. I mean, every 5-6 years, whatever, you need to come out here and clean this basin. There's things that you do need to have access for the pump. Do not bury that basin and pit where you don't have access. And the example is, it's kind of like a septic tank. You can look over here, and you can see septic tank right here. And they've got a pump that's out here someplace. In fact, it looks like they just replaced it, because here's a valve, a float valve that's just laying out here. So again, make sure you have access to your pump if you put a pump in. So out here at the pump discharge, what we're going to do is going to come to a 3-inch 90, and there'll be a grate on the top. But to make that connection from this Schedule 40 PVC to the thin wall PVC, you do need some type of adapter, and we call this a donut, but it's a bushing to go from Schedule 40 PVC that slides in here, and the outer is for thin wall PVC. And and everything works really simply. We're going to glue it all up, but I'll just show you. Put it together, and this piece slides tight inside, and then the grate goes on the top. Just that simple. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start washing off the wall. You can see I went ahead and put a T on here. That will bring the water from that little corner and from here, bring it over and into the sump basin. Got a nasty leak on their water. That's nasty, but we're using that water to wash off this wall. Joe took the hose down to the other end. What he's doing is he's just scraping off the dirt off of this foundation wall, and then we'll hit that with the flat shovel, go over it again, and then we'll apply our liquid rubber, and we're ready to install the footer pipe after that. So even though footer pipe runs level, that's how it works. You can see what happens is water will fill up at one end, gets higher and higher, and it will begin to flow. That's how footer systems work. It's how a French drain works. Water floods up. As it gets higher, now there's room for it to flow. And it takes a lot of water. We've got to clean this off a little bit more, but we'll wash all that off, and that water is going to go right over to the trench. Not a problem. We're actually following a concrete footer. You can be on top of it or right beside it. Either one works great. We need a place for this water when it rains. We need a place for that water to go. So Joe's coming around. You'll see it here as it comes around the corner. You see it flows. It begins to flow more and more. And the higher that water gets, then it begins to flow into your system, and this pipe will take it over to the sump basin, and the sump pump will lift it up and take it out. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start peeling this stuff that they have on the wall off of here. So it looks like during construction, this is block, and you can actually see the lines of each block as it comes around. And this sits on the footer's right here. So we've got a block wall that came up, and then the first layer of stucco that they put on is here, and you can see it cracked. And then somebody came back and they had put caulk in it, they put tar in it, they've done all kinds of things to try to seal this wall, and none of it's worked. And I think the reason being is that without drainage, nothing's going to seal this wall. You need to have that, there's no place for water to go. So when we clean this footer off again and put our pipe down through there, you know, that gives that water a place to go. And then we'll go ahead and seal this wall with that blackjack sealant. It's actually a rubber compound in it. It does seal up pretty well, but the secret is you've got to get this footer pipe in here. Without it, the sealant won't work. So we're sealing up that wall with the blackjack number 57. It's called liquid rubber, but really it's a damp proofing compound. And what it does is when it dries, it creates a rubber seal, you know, on whatever you put it on. It's really designed for a roof or for a brand new build, you know, block wall. So again, once we cleaned off that footer, the footer wall, the foundation wall, we can easily apply this to it. And it sticks really good. Once it dries, it's a nice permanent shell to help keep that water from penetrating the block. But remember, the secret is you have to have drainage. So that's where the footer pipe comes in. So while Joe's finishing up that liquid rubber application, we just use a brush and we paint it on there, put it on really thick. And while he's doing that, we'll go ahead and, or I'll go ahead and put this footer pipe in. Remember what this is. This is 4-inch perforated pipe surrounded by styrofoam peanuts, and it's encased in a fabric. These peanuts are not like packing peanuts. These are very dense pieces of styrofoam, and water does not make them smushy at all. And they also handle the weight of putting all this backfill. You can see how much backfill there is. It'll handle that weight, no problem. It works great in sandy soil. Remember the secret though, you've got to be down at footer level. You have to be below the floor. You must have drainage in order for this to stay dry. Liquid rubber or all kinds of compounds. I get many comments about you should use this and that. You know what? That's all great. We use blackjack 57. That's what we use, and we don't have any problems. It works fine. But the real secret again is getting footer pipe. People call it a French drain, but footer pipe along and below that floor. Okay, so we're coming around to the corner where the sump pump is. You can see the nice liquid rubber coat. When that, you know, hardens, it's already hardening. It hardens pretty quick. Now I'm laying the easy flow. I already backfilled a little bit at the other end, but looking really good. So that stuff's really, it did a great job of covering that old stucco and broken mortar, things that were down there. Beautiful job. So, but again, the key is the drainage. We're putting that in. We're coming around the corner and backfilling. We'll hook it up to the sump basin in just a second. So, there's lots of ways to join your pipe together. I like to use an exterior coupling. I think it's a very effective way. It's cheap and easy. You can see it snaps right on, and it's just going to snap onto the next piece. I'm trying to do it with one hand, so hang in there. Two hands. But it just snaps together, and you heard it click, so it doesn't come apart. Really nice little way to hook these pipes together. You can see where we're at the corner. It's going to be a little bit tougher. We'll have to make a cut down there and to make that corner into the sump basin, but it's just what you got to do to make it work. It's going to work fine. Okay, so there you have it. We've got our easy flow connected. It goes all the way around the corner back there to the front wall by the door, comes back around, and we're discharging to the sump basin, which is right here. That's the sump basin. Remember, we had to extend that to get it to the proper depth. Came around the corner, put a T on it here. Basically, you know, we'll raise that up a little bit, but gravel perforated pipe on that side just a little bit. This will all flow right into the sump basin. It all drops downhill really good. One little tip here, as you come around a corner, you can see the coupling I put on, and you can see the end of the pipe. That's a really tight corner. So what I did was I screwed that coupling together. I put 6 set screws in there to hold it in place, and it works really good. So you don't have to do a lot of extra cutting, because when you do cut your styrofoam peanuts, it makes a mess. Not a big deal because it's all buried down there, but still. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and backfill, and we'll be out of here in just a few minutes. Okay, so we've got it all backfilled. The blue tape around the lid was just to help keep some of that dirt out as we backfilled. It can easily be pulled off, and you can see it's all filled back. They're going to remulch the area, and it's all set. They're all ready to go. Here's the discharge. I've showed you how to make that connection many times. This is just the final finish. You can see, again, they're going to put mulch back on it, so no worries. We've got it all raked off and smoothed back through all the way over to the sump pump. They actually had an electrician put a GFI out, so we plugged it right in, and they're all set. Back here in the back, this footer is an addition. This is an addition to the garage into the house. It's a lot deeper. Again, it's still a slab. There's no crawl space under here, but water's still been penetrating through here, and I can see where somebody has put what looks to be maybe Thompson's waterproofing, some type of a sealer on this brick, but they didn't go all the way down. I don't know what they did, but we're going to seal it with liquid rubber, put gravel perforated pipe down through there. It's going to come over, and it's going to tie into the sump pit right here. So now we're going to go ahead and drill a hole into the pit to allow the footer tile to drain into the sump pit. We want to get it down as low as we can. So I make a slice in the pipe, squeeze it together, and slide it into the hole. And this will expand. Now we can wash this wall off. So now we can wash the wall off down here to the footer, down there to the footer, and we'll be ready to paint it after it dries. Same thing on this side. Here is the footer, and we're going to paint this first course of block, but we're also going to have a footer pipe running right through here. So with your garden hose, try to get as much dirt off as you can, and then you'll come back with your flat shovel and you'll hit that hard. What we're really after is right here at the seam. You can see it down there. We want to clean that seam off. We've got a hole in the sump pump to help get that water out of our trench. Again, if you're going to use, a damp proofing compound, we like Blackjack rubber coat number 57, and this is a premium rubberized fiber coating. That means it's got fiberglass in it, and once it hardens, it makes a great shell. So we're going to go ahead and start painting this footer, and basically what we're doing is we're painting the block right up underneath of the siding, and then we paint right down to where the block meets the footer, and we want to seal that so that no water can get down inside of it. Again, we're using a liquid rubber. This is rubber coat number 57. This is rubber coat number 57. You can see you just apply it with a brush, and we want to paint the block and right to the seam of the footer. You don't need to paint the footer, just the seam of the footer. We're going to go all the way around the garage, and it's okay if you have water down in your trench because that's not affecting anything. There's going to be gravel down there and perforated pipe. Okay, I know it's bright out here, but you can see that we've painted the wall with a liquid rubber. This is the asphalt coating with a rubber membrane inside of it, and you can see it just turns it black, but well sealed all the way down to the footer. I don't know if you can see that down there, down to the footer. And we went all the way around the garage as well. You can see it over here on the garage side, all the way along. And basically, we don't need to seal the actual footer, just the seam and the block above. So we've sealed all the way around, real thick in that corner back there. Once this dries, we're going to be able to go ahead and put our gravel perforated pipe in here, a small base of gravel, then perforated pipe, and then a little bit more gravel, we should be about right here, so that as water floods up, around the garage, as it comes down that hill, it floods up into the system and is carried away. We'll take it down here to the sump pump, which I showed you there, how we drilled into the pit, and we'll connect it, and this will drain great. So now we're loading up the gravel into the wheelbarrow. We take that back there, make a tiny base of gravel underneath that perforated pipe, lay your pipe, and then we cover that up to gravel, covering up the footer as well. So you can see we've got the gravel covered up the footer and the pipe. Coming around, we connected the downspout. That actually goes separate from the system. More gravel going around the corner. You can see the footer over there has to be covered. Again, when it rains, water doesn't really drop down into the pipe. If it comes over, hits the foundation of your home or your structure, then it floods up into the system. So footer pipe, footer tiles, is kind of like a French drain. It's gravel, it's perforated pipe surrounded by gravel, and you can either have gravity discharge, which is going out to the street, or if you remember, we have a sump pump on the other side. So he's got two places for this water to discharge. Should work really good. The last thing we're going to do here is go ahead and grade this off. We'll put some fabric over top of this so no dirt can drop down in, or we may leave it exposed. Leaving it exposed works even better. And then he can just have a gravel base around his garage, and that's fine too. Remember, his footer is only down there 6 inches. It's not very deep. So here's your completed product. You can see we've tarred the wall with the liquid rubber, and we sealed that. That's nice and secure now. We've got a footer pipe down there, which is perforated pipe, holes point down into the gravel below. Cover that with gravel. We're discharging over here to a sump pump. Let's just go over there and take a look. There's a sump pump here. Remember, we cut a hole into this pit, and so any water that comes down through here is just going to drain into the sump pump. Sump pump lifts it up and takes it out. So we're doing our final backfill here. Just bringing it over. This is all going to settle. Don't need to chop it up or anything. Just let the gravity take it down. We want to cover up as much as we can here up to that black mark on the wall, because it's going to settle. It's all going to go down the first big rain.
Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day. Don't forget to take the test at the end of this video.